goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay. Trying to read a interesting email and say hello at the same time. I think I did it. Hello. It is.
You did it. Are you
Susan.
in charge again? Hi.
Hi, I didn't even know you were there.
What do you mean you didn't know I was here?
Well, don't I usually say, and here's my sister Susan? I didn't even introduce you, and you were there.
I'm always here. I'm lurking.
You're lurking. Hi, nice to see yins. So
new?
New? That's
Been a while.
It has? You haven't been on? Oh, because it's been holidays and stuff.
It's been holidays.
Oh, yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, whatever the heck it was. But, yeah. Hi. Welcome. So, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the world that we can opine on. Let me see where I might... Ooh! No.
I know those liberal commies in New York just passed sweeping gun control measures.
Yeah, but my understanding is, I haven't really looked, but my understanding is that there are a lot of Republicans there voting for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, New York, as you know, is not
They're
really...
all commies.
New York is not the United States
They're
of America.
a different kind of breed.
That's right. There was a USA Today had a big, lots of stories today about gun control and which states were actively seeking to limit access and which were actually moving in the other direction. And they had a map of states that are tightening gun control and states that are sort of like expanding access. And you know what? There was many states that are making it easier than there were states that want to maybe make it more difficult. Unbelievable. And
But I mean, there are things that are happening that people don't, pay attention to. That if you're riding on an Amtrak train, there's absolutely nothing saying that the guy next to you isn't armed. It's perfectly legal.
Right. Well, why? And in New York, it is?
Everywhere. It's part of a little-known congressional law.
Well, I thought it was something like state by state in terms of conceal.
No, but if you're on, I think
interstate transportation.
The train would be considered interstate commerce, and states can't regulate interstate commerce.
So, listen, so they're saying that maybe as early as tomorrow, Obama's going to come out and say what he wants done, and even some things that he might be able to do all by himself and through executive fiat and avoid Congress. And what I have seen on this is, first of all, that for the biggies, he does need Congress. So the odds of limiting those high-capacity clips, that needs congressional approval, and you can't imagine that happening with this Congress, with this House especially.
Well, you can't imagine anything happening with this Congress.
Well, that's true. And also a ban on assault weapons would also require congressional, approval. Some of the things he could sort of do by himself, and this is, you said how Congress has, over the years, slipped all kinds of little things into bills that hamstring any effort to make it easier for law enforcement to track gun sales or gun ownership and all this kind of stuff. I mean, when you start reading about it, your head explodes, what they have done.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't even have to go that far. Just to know that all those gun shows, you don't have to do anything. So why go to a gun store? You go to a gun show.
That's right. It's estimated that 40% of all guns are bought at either gun shows, which require no background check. Why?
No.
Why?
If you know you're not going to pass the background check, where do you go and buy your gun?
Or you're in a state like where you can just go to meet somebody in a parking lot that you got to on Craigslist, and perfectly legal transaction takes place in the parking lot, person to person. Or in a classified ad.
If your parent dies and you inherit a bunch of guns, now you got guns.
That's right. And one of the other things, when you're trying to argue using facts that anything about why it would be a good idea if we could have this kind of a regulation, that it would make people ultimately safer, it turns out there's not a lot of data. Do you say data or data?
Depends on how I'm feeling on any given day.
Really? They're both correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So it turns out there's not a lot of data on things that you would expect there to be, like how many guns this, how many guns that, who owns this, what guns were used in what ammunition was used, what's available here. And it's because Congress, over the years, has managed to slip into all kinds of bills, these kinds, making it impossible for federal agencies to make any data available. I'm straddling the fence on this one. To make any data available. Or they absolutely do not allow agencies that would or could be doing research that would give us more information. They actively prevent them from using their money to do research. So it's so repulsively insidious. And
it is. It's diabolical.
Where they've actually made an effort to prevent knowledge from being collected about the impact.
Oh, come on now. That's old news.
That's true. Isn't it amazing, though? God.
It's as if it's like number 2 rule in their handbook. After you seize control, suppress all knowledge.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, they're doing a good job, especially with their folks. But if you look at the small print in budget bills, that's where they do it. So there's a budget for the National Institutes of Health. And somewhere in this big budget document, there will say something like, you cannot compile data on what guns are used in what manner, in what crimes. Why?
Well, actually, there was something interesting that, NIH might not be able to do it, but police departments are finally beginning to do it.
But they aren't connected one to the other. You know what I mean? There's no national database, and that, too, is because...
No, but there should be. But at least, like, within St. Louis, where, like all urban centers, guns are causing, war zones.
Yeah.
And they've begun to track guns and case shellings to see which are the most violent guns. Just in case you want to think that guns don't kill, people do. Apparently, the police department thinks that guns kill.
Well, when you stop...
Because they're beginning to track the gun.
When you stop and think that that the NRA and its minions have actually and successfully opposed the banning of so-called, cop killer ammo and bullets. If at this moment, with those 20 dead children barely lying in their graves for 1 month, that's all. It's just been 4 weeks. And already you can sort of feel this is what the NRA waits for. A sort of diminution of our resolve, of our anger. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And thank God some of these parents in Sandy Hook are organizing. Thank God for Gabby Giffords and her husband's attempt to organize. There's more and more efforts afoot. But I just think the general population feels so sort of like it's so useless to even try. There's 500. There's more than one gun per human being in this country. So even if we ban them, guns don't, disintegrate. Guns last for hundreds and hundreds of years. But just because a task is daunting does not mean you don't take it on. And, it's often pointed out that Australia has managed to really Australia in many ways is very much like the U.S., is like a wild, wild west country, young country with a real independent streak where the individuals, can do what they want and the land is wide open and go for it, and guns were very much a part of all of that. And then they had this massive shooting about 30 years ago, and their very conservative government at the time immediately acted. And they did a lot of gun control legislation, and they did a huge buyback, which, bring us your guns, we're giving you really good money for every one of them. And they managed to get about 40% of the guns that existed in Australia off the streets. And you know what they did with them? They destroyed them.
You know what? You get the NRA. I don't know if they got it through, but they were sure trying to get through a law that said it was illegal to melt down a gun.
It's illegal to destroy a gun. Oh, dear Lord. They're warped. Jesus, God almighty. Yikes. All right. I can't take any more of that subject.
Well, they want to be poised to overthrow the government at any given moment.
And you know what? Speaking of that, chances are the likes of you and me do not listen to the more crazed right-wing stuff that's on the radio, on the internet, blah, blah, blah. And if you take a little peek at some of it, it will curl every hair.
I can't. I can't even look.
But
I know that everybody's running out to get their guns because Obama's going to take their guns away.
Oh yeah, the guns are absolutely disappearing.
Although I'm not doing that, I have to admit that I have been stockpiling light bulbs. So in my own way, I get the.
Yeah.
Have you been stockpiling light bulbs?
No, because eventually you'll have to forget it. You'll have to acquiesce.
Well, but I want to have them long enough for them to figure out a cost-effective,
but nice
good
light
replacement until they give me something that works as well.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I was yelling at some guy in a Poor Batteries Plus Way place that was trying to sell them to me. I said, but they don't work as well. Well, that invention is 100 years old. I go, yeah, but it works better than this one.
Yeah. I forget why we can't have our old ones. What happened?
Oh, it's too much energy. They waste energy.
Oh,
they
okay.
create heat and they waste energy.
Oh, okay. Well, then.
I think on the scale of how much energy they're wasting compared to other things, I can have my light bulb.
Well, Susan, everybody has to pitch in. And if that means you lose the warm glow that the light puts out in your family room, replaced by a garish blue-white light.
It's not even that. They cost a fortune, and they don't work in closed fixtures. So if you have, for example, something up on your ceiling and you put one of those $20 bulbs in it and it tells you it's going to be up there for 8 years, it'll last for about 3 months.
That's already happened to me.
Yeah. So there has to be a big asterisk there, except in any fixture that you might already own.
have. Right. Oh, well.
So this is not well thought out. That's all I'm saying. It's a premature product.
Well, what a shock. Something was mandated that was not well thought out. Whoops. So here's my favorite story. It's not my favorite story. It is a story that just is beyond belief. No, it's not. Why do I keep saying that when it has to do with these disgusting human beings? Republican politicians. And then I say things like...
I don't know, you should believe it already.
I know, and I say things like unbelievable. What? No, it's not.
Not. Give it up.
So, okay, our latest unbelievable goes to Governor Rick Scott of the state of Florida. And I don't know if
What's Ricky doing now?
Oh, my God. Well, when Ricky ran and he won the Republican primary, excuse me, lo and behold, he decided his family needed a dog. You know how all politicians' families...
Yeah, the picture doesn't look right in their matching sweaters unless the dog's there at their feet.
That's right. And what kind of dog, Susan? I mean...
Oh, it should probably be a golden retriever.
Right, a golden retriever or a
lab. Or maybe a collie.
Nah, I think collies are sort of retro, but I think goldens and labs are the biggies. Those are the biggies, right?
Right. You can't have anything that's
like a poodle,
allergen free because that's too liberal.
Right. You can't have a poodle or you can get by with a hound, I think. At any rate, right after he won the primary, all of a sudden his Facebook page showed a dog. And the family happily announced they had just adopted this adorable Labrador. They'd rescued it from a homeless shelter.
Uh-huh.
And I have a picture of the dog here, and he's, well, is adorable looking, sweet, sad looking face. And he was asking all his fans, what should he name the dog? Now, I did a similar thing when I adopted a cat a long, long time ago, and because I'm bad at names, really bad at names of animals, as you maybe know. None of my animals.
Well, what do you want? We grew up in a house where the dog was named Frisky.
Frisky, yeah, right, I know. So, none of us are terribly blessed with creativity when it comes to animal names.
No, I had good pet names.
Well, they were a little hoity-toity. Oedipus.
Oedipus for a cat? I think that was great.
Jess likes that one. And I mean, her husband's a psychoanalyst, so I made Oedipus. And then...
Napoleon Bonaparte for my dog.
Yeah, and Napoleon. I get those are okay. However, I mean, my audience came up with a great name for my little. I had a little black kitten.
Yes,
and
they did.
They came up with Smudge, and then they decided
it was Smudge Lemieux.
Well, that was then they decided if she needed a last name, and that is she being Pittsburgh, and Mario Lemieux here with our hockey team, it should be Smudge Lemieux, and that's what Smudge Lemieux got her name, and fantastic. I mean, she was perfect name. Anyway, so the governor asked his minions what this sweet, sad Labrador he rescued should be named. And guess what? They came up with Reagan.
Oh, sure they did.
Yeah, so it's not only that the poor dog ends up with Rick Scott. Excuse me. Excuse me.
But Reagan is a she girl's name now.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a she girl's name, and I don't know if this is a female. I can't tell from the picture. She or he is lying in somewhat of a discreet manner. So the governor had Reagan in all the family portraits, and lo and behold, who knows if it was Reagan who managed to do it, but Rick Scott was elected governor. And it wasn't, life goes on. And then someone at the Tampa Bay Times started...
They didn't already get rid of him.
Started wondering, I wonder how old Reagan's doing. And so they called up the press secretary and said, hey, we haven't checked up on the dog. How's the dog doing? Well, I'll get back to you on that. I'm not quite sure. Yes, I understand. Do you want to know? I know it would be a terrible PR nightmare if we don't show Reagan in a photo next to today's copy of your paper.
They got rid of that dog as soon as he was elected.
Yep. It's...
These users, these awful...
How do you even... Now, the governor's office says there was
these people, I don't know why we're putting Vic in jail. I mean, these people, Mitt straps him to his car, and, what is this?
Incredible, huh?
No empathy.
None.
Empathy.
Well, they said the dog wasn't a real good fit, and blah blah blah. And the governor's photographer was frightened of Reagan, who barked at him a lot or at his camera. So yeah, they took the dog back. Apparently, the dog is fine. Has been brought. Has, according to this paper, it says that the dog is back in a new home. But someone who would adopt an animal and then dump the animal as soon as the animal had served its purpose of making the family...
The perfect family shot.
How repulsive is that? That's your Governor Rick Scott of the great state of California. He, who was very much instrumental in keeping thousands of Florida voters waiting up to 7 hours to cast a ballot.
Yeah, you should just have a segment on why we aren't wrong to strongly dislike these people.
Well, I think pretty much the show has been that for the last 10 years.
Or if we don't dislike them, it's just everything they do.
Yes. Far be it from me to dislike a fellow human being, especially one I really do not personally know. But given what I do know of their behavior, I think I'm on safe ground disliking them. Well, Susan, I think I shall toddle off and do a little break, okay?
Okay.
All right. Stay tuned.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Lynn Cullen Live and Panera Bread celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King.
After the success of the Birmingham movement, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made a triumphant speaking tour to Chicago, Los Angeles, and Detroit. He was inspired by the mounting militancy of urban blacks, yet he was convinced that only nonviolent protest could solve the racial problems. King felt strongly that victory depended upon moral superiority. During the summer of 1963, 758 civil rights demonstrations occurred in 186 cities. Thousands of public and private facilities were forced to desegregate.
Countdown to King, brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health, and Lynn Cullen Live.
Oh, Lynn Cullen Live. Have a greater hand in your health and Lynn Cullen Live?
Highmark and Lynn Cullen.
Oh, Highmark and Lynn Cullen Live. Hey, guys, so speaking of Dr. King and history, there's history that's going to be made on Monday. That would be President's Day, and that would be the second inauguration of Barack Hussein Obama. Be there or be square. I was thinking last night that my bet is, because I was disappointed in his first inaugural address, my bet is he's pulling out all the stops for this final one. And the great orator that we knew from the first campaign, I think, is going to return. Imagine being in that crowd, there, actually hearing him, seeing him. You can do it because DeBolt is taking a bus right from here. And you can go. You got to call up and get your space reserved. That's it's a national holiday, Martin Luther King Day. So you very well might have the day off. Use that day. Go with your children. Imagine that kind of history. What a wonderful moment. I wish I could, and I can't. DeBolt Travel is the same guys that took us to D.C. for the Sanity Rally. They know how to do this. It's like a science. They're doing pickups the day on Monday. In 5 different places, in Robinson, in Homestead, at the waterfront, at Soldiers and Sailors in Oakland and Monroeville, at the Miracle Mile, and in New Stanton as well. Get on the bus. They make sure you get breakfast. They get you into D.C. in plenty of time. And then at 5 p.m., you're coming back home. And you stop in Gaithersburg, Maryland for an all-you-can-eat buffet, which is part of your ticket price, which is $89 for all of that in a single day. Boy, is it worth it. Think of doing it. Here's the phone number. 1-800, this is tough, 4-DEBOLT, D-E-B-O-L-T. 1-800-4-DEBOLT. Call. Get your seats. Take your kids. Have an extraordinary memory. You gotta work on this.
BurgBargains.com for great deals on meals from your favorite restaurants, museums, and shows. This week only, get discounts up to 20% on gift cards to the Cheesecake Factory. Supplies are limited. BurgBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BurgBargains.com.
Today, My Care Navigator forwarded my medical records and freed my mind for other things.
Introducing My Care Navigator, your 24/7 healthcare co-pilot, new from Highmark.
My Care Navigator found me the ideal specialist. Less work for me.
My Care Navigator makes it easier to navigate the system. Call 1-888-BLUE-428 to connect with yours today. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Here I is, and here's my sister Susan.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, Susan! History was made, apparently yesterday. Clarence Thomas was heard to utter, I think, 3 words.
In court?
Yes! You didn't hear?
What? Where's the bathroom?
Yeah. Well, that's 3. Oh, this is Monday. I'll read you the Wall Street Journal account. I've read a number of different accounts, and nobody can quite figure out what it was he said, because the stenographer, who must be a very good stenographer,
was in shock.
Well, she couldn't quite hear. It was like he mumbled. It was like maybe he was making an aside to Justice Breyer. But the attorney who was arguing the case responded to Justice Thomas, so it's clear if she was responding that then, in fact, he finally broke his 7-year silence. And you know what he broke it for? To denigrate the law school that he graduated from, Yale. It says here he made
they were talking about this is the affirmative action case.
This is a case, involving the Sixth Amendment, right to a speedy trial.
Oh.
But it wasn't a question of constitutional law that prompted Thomas to finally speak. Instead, he was apparently, this is the Wall Street Journal's take, was moved to rebut a positive reference to his alma mater made by the attorney who was arguing the case. And one of the lawyers observed during the course that somebody else went to Harvard and this person went to Yale, and the justices were sort of talking amongst themselves. And believe me, every one of them either went to Harvard or Yale. And Thomas apparently made a remark that if the lawyer went to Yale, the defendant must have received competent counsel. But that's what someone said. And then Thomas said, well, he did not. That's what's in the transcript. Well, he did not. I don't know. And it's because he couldn't bear. He hates Yale. He couldn't bear hearing. He finally had to speak because this person was suggesting that Yale Law School was a great school. Because in his memoir, he rips Yale Law School apart limb from limb because he was unhappy there. Yeah. He says...
You don't think it has anything to do with the fact that Anita Hill went there?
No, he said he was looked at as an affirmative action hire, and he was, token, and was treated slightingly. But this guy, the thing, I'm sure there was that he encountered at that point. But this guy has more chips on his shoulder than just about any public figure I can think of other than like Richard Nixon. The same kind of anger and feeling of having been slighted and wanting desperately to hit back. I mean, he just seems like a real messed up soul to me.
Well, or someone that accurately assesses that a great deal of the country thinks he's a nincompoop.
Well, he can't be a nincompoop, can he? I don't think. But I remember when H.W. nominated him, I remember the absurdity of him saying that this was the most qualified person in the country for this spot on the court, which nobody could listen to without falling into peals of laughter. He did not have a distinguished career.
When he was, proposed, it was just everybody going, "You're kidding." And it was my state senator, who is an otherwise much revered individual, Danforth, for who that
he went
Clarence
to bat
Thomas
for him.
Was
yeah,
his boy. I think that's how it happened.
Susan, you don't want to say his boy.
Well, I don't mean it that way.
I know, but you
say
know
that
how.
No matter what his color, but you're right.
I know, but you can't.
No, okay, I didn't mean it that way. I apologize.
I saw Django Unchained. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was, for the part where I had my eyes open, I thought it was really good.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yep.
And I thought it was one of the funnier movies I've seen in some time. And beautifully acted. And what made me think of it is the N-word that everybody's squawking about. It's used 500.
Right.
Okay, I wanted to address that. We got a caller coming in, though. Hello, caller. Hi.
Hello. I just wanted to say I am offended. Offended. That she called Clarence Thomas a boy.
She didn't mean to call him a boy. She said she was talking about a relationship between the august Senator Danforth and Clarence.
Yeah, she said, you could have said, Clarence Thomas was his man, but no,
she
said boy.
I did.
She did. I heard it too, Clarence, and I
didn't hear it until you mentioned it.
Yeah. It's because I didn't mean it that way.
I know you didn't mean it that way. I did not hear it until Lynn said you shouldn't use that word.
Well, now wait.
Then I went backwards and went, oh, yeah, that could be offensive to people.
Here, I have to tell you something.
Guys.
Guys.
You mentioned it.
I can't get a word in edgewise. Hey, you two. This reminds me of the most outrageous thing that I can recall, where this super sensitivity about what you say in regard to race. Do you remember, and I can't remember who said it, this has to be 10 years ago, 15 years ago, someone used the word niggardly.
Oh, yeah,
right.
Some guy from Washington, D.C. It's a meeting.
It was what? Who said it?
Some guy at some meeting in Washington, D.C. I just remember it was in Washington, D.C.
Too big a vocabulary.
He used the word niggardly, and all hell broke loose.
I remember it.
You do.
Yeah, I definitely remember. I can't remember the guy's name. But he was some official, and he was in Washington, D.C. And and I do remember the hoopla and the
that he was a racist and what an outrage. And the word has nothing to do.
It means stingy.
It means stingy, and it's not. The derivation is not from the same derivation as the N-word.
Nope.
Beyond belief.
Yeah. What I liked about Susan's thing is that she didn't make the connection. To me, that's the most non-racist human being that there is.
Okay, so I'm a racist because I heard it. I'm a racist because I heard it.
Yeah. Well, you're overly sensitive to race. I would say racist.
Well, I figured some people might have heard it like that, and I wanted to give her an opportunity.
I appreciate it, but no, I didn't. I would have. That would have been the way I would have characterized the relationship between these two men, no matter what the color was.
I agree, and I know that. And
you know what, Lynn?
Yes.
I remember that. I don't know when it happened, but I was making a joke about words that sound like other words, because I did like a little bit where they were blaming Nicole Simpson murders on the Jews. I did a whole bit on your radio show. I called it and said, I don't know how the Jews did that. Everybody's saying that the Jews did it. And then you said, no, it's the juice. And I went, oh, never mind. And that came from that niggardly thing.
Yeah, right. I remember getting the first time when I went away to college. It was the first time I was standing in the cafeteria line, and one of the offering for the day was like roast beef au jus with juice, and.
Right.
And
I can't. I still can't order that. In a restaurant.
And someone ahead of me said, "I'll take the beef with Jews," and I've never. And I thought, oh my God.
And see, and they always claim that Jews are going around eating babies, and people are going around eating Jews.
That's right. Well, I think we've had enough fun with all of this.
Oh, I'm sorry, but it's your sister's fault for calling Clarence.
It's my fault for my thoughtless speech.
Hey, by the way, Clarence, did you see Django?
No.
I
don't really like I don't go to theaters for some reason. I think I'm becoming an old curmudgeon. I wait for it to come out on DVD.
Okay. Well, I happened to see it recently, and it is horrifically violent, but it's violence as. Tarantino's not serious about it. It's obviously it's over the top. It's cartoonish.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very, very funny and well acted, and funny in the same way that Inglourious Basterds was. He wades into, like, who would make a funny film about, Nazis hunting down Jews? Mm-hmm. Tarantino, and he pulled it off. Who would make a funny film based on runaway, slaves and bounty hunters, and prior to the Civil War? Tarantino would, and he pulls it off. I think it's just brilliant.
Oh, did you hear Tarantino's interview? He was interviewed with somebody on, like, what's her name, Fresh Air.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, long story short, his history. I mean, the way he was brought up.
Yeah.
You can understand him better. When he talked about he was basically raised by a single mother whose, like, best friend was, like, some black woman. He was basically raised. He's basically a black guy.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, the way he was brought up and stuff. If you can find that, like, online or something like that, I went, oh, now I really get Tarantino.
About, right?
His mother was like a, going out, a party girl and all this kind of good stuff. It was really interesting.
He himself is actually blown away in the film, Tarantino.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he has a little part, and he gets...
Oh, gee, I was going to see it, too. Now you ruined it.
Oh, no. Everyone gets blown away. I mean, heads go off. There is more blood all over the place. It's unbelievable.
It's Shakespearean.
Yeah, it is. But...
Oh, there you go again. Now you're talking about Spears while I'm on the phone.
So here, but
talking about Flav and shaking Spears. There you go, Susan.
Okay.
You have no sensitivity to the radio.
I'm just in deep doo-doo today.
Hey, wait a minute. I have something I want to say here about the N-word, because a lot of people have said the film uses, they came up with like 100 and something or 90 something uses of the word. And Tarantino has said, and I agree with him, I'm making a movie set in 1856, I think, or 7, and it's set in the South, and it's with slave owners and slaves, and that was the word that they used. And I'm supposed to all of a sudden not use it? Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that? That, I mean, historically...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Tarantino said, what am I supposed to say?
Well,
it's like I'm going to kill you, N-word.
Yeah, right.
There's an African-American slave. Get him.
Yeah, right. Get that African-American.
Come here, my man. I want to whip you.
Oh, Lord. All right, well.
Okay, I'm done.
You are so done. Goodbye.
Bye.
Boy, am I going to have to watch myself.
No, you don't. I have become sensitized as a result of having spent my life saying the wrong things and having people take offense on a regular basis. So maybe I'm a little more...
No, well, it's a family trait.
What? Putting our foot in our mouth?
You're putting our size 9s right in our mouth.
I don't know about you, babe, but I'm a 10.
Oh, well.
And they've splayed out. If I keep sort of like... I mean, I think your feet get bigger, your ears get bigger.
Right.
Isn't that weird? And your nose gets bigger?
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry. If this is what God intended... He's really got a very perverse sense of humor, wouldn't you say?
Well, that's been obvious from just about the beginning. There was Genesis, and then, God doing stand-up.
God doing stand-up? Pretty brutal stand-up. Okay, I got to take another break, and we shall be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
For the millions living with COPD, breathing becomes a real struggle. COPD stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, but you may have heard of it as chronic bronchitis or emphysema. Over time, it makes it harder and harder to breathe until you feel like you're breathing through a straw. COPD is the 4th leading cause of death in the U.S. It kills 1 person every 4 minutes, and it took my grandmother. An estimated 24 million Americans are affected, but as many as half of them don't even know it. It's a race against time to spread the word about this serious disease. If you're over 35 and have ever smoked, you could be at risk. The good news is, there are steps you can take to improve your symptoms. I'm Danica Patrick. and I drive for COPD. Take action today to breathe better tomorrow. Join the movement at driveforcopd.com, take our screening questionnaire today, and talk to your doctor.
Well, I'll tell you what. What was I going to say? Dang it. Oh, you be quiet, Susan. I have to remind people that they can get to the inauguration Monday, because the DeBolt, wonderful George DeBolt over at DeBolt Unlimited, has got a bus heading there, 5 pickup stops all around the area, get you there the day of it. Let you do whatever it is you want. There's lots of activities going on. I got my inaugural invitation in the mail yesterday, but I can't go. I can't. You can. It's the last chance you have to see Barack Obama take the oath of office. And maybe this time the Chief Justice will get it right. You can be part of history. That's next Monday. It's a federal holiday. Jump on that bus. You're in and out the same day. It's a long, wondrous, memorable day, Monday, January 21. $89 for the whole thing, plus an all-you-can-eat dinner on your way home. Okay? Limited space. Reserve your seat. 1-800-4-DEBOLT, DEBOLT, or check them out on tours at DeBoltUnlimited.com.
Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for Louis Black, plus Les Miserables, Yo Gabba Gabbas, and News of the Weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania, and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, so somebody wants an update on a story I told yesterday about I had my oven on self-clean, Susan.
Oh, I want to know, too.
On Sunday night, and at 2:30 in the morning, it, exploded.
How long were you letting it self-clean?
No, it's on I put it on a little after midnight. It had been on for 2 hours. The usual cycle is 3.5. Okay, I did nothing wrong. Nothing. Okay. So when I contacted, here's the rest of the story is I contacted the makers, and they started asking me questions like, was there any personal injury? Was there any property damage? You could tell they're, they're covering their butts left and right, trying to find out how liable they are, blah, blah, blah. And the answer to all that was no. But so I didn't even ask, but they said, obviously we're picking up the cost of this. It's not under warranty anymore, but they're picking up the cost. This was a
that's not supposed to happen.
Total defect. So that's what happened. Everything should be okay. But of course it takes a long time to get the proper, there's one company in all of the Pittsburgh area that this manufacturer is willing to allow to repair its product.
So how long is it going to take?
Well, I can't get anybody to even look at it and assess it until next week.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And they told me, they said, unplug, stop the circuit breaker, as if there's a threat of fire. They got me so nervous, I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, so that's what happened, and my oven exploded. Other than that, everything's fine.
And you only have one oven?
Yeah, well, but I had 2 ovens. I had just renovated my kitchen.
So you have you have another oven?
I do.
Okay.
Aren't I lucky?
Yeah.
I know. So that's just the update. So anyway, are you looking forward to Oprah Winfrey's interview with Lance?
Oh, that news is about as earth-shaking as, the Jodie Foster's non-coming-out speech.
What did you think of that speech? I thought it was...
I thought she was hopped up on something.
No, I think she's nuts.
Well, yes, I thought that she was not right. That's what I thought. But you just assume that it's character logic, and I assume that she was, I don't know.
No.
Maybe she was taking a pill or something.
No,
they were sure joking about it.
I think it was scripted. I don't think that was off the cuff. I think that was scripted, and she wanted to have her say, and it just shows that in some respects her brain operates in very strange ways. I mean, it was. I found the adjective I'm sticking with is self-indulgent.
Yeah.
And inappropriate. I mean,
you frequently find that there's a reason why actors should stick to reading other people's lines.
That's true. Except British actors, because they always give these great acceptance speeches. They're articulate, they're funny, they're sharp, they're to the point.
Although I did enjoy Tina Fey and
Amy Poehler, yeah, they were good.
And Amy, I mean, when they went right out there with the line about James Cameron, and
I loved it. That was
married to him for 3 years, knows about torture.
Right, that was great, brilliant, very and really on the edge. That was great. That was great. I appreciated it too. But anyway, Oprah, by the way, has been heard from now, and she is saying it is the biggest interview of her life, and she's saying. This is sort of interesting. She says he did not come clean in the manner she had expected. So, what does that mean?
No, she's always,
she's hyping
she's all
it.
about getting people to watch the thing.
Well, and they're milking it for all it's worth because they're going to do 2 nights, Thursday and Friday. Like, I want to watch that SOB for 2 nights.
Well, if she's so naive that she didn't think that there's a reason that he's coming to her and doing this, and that he's orchestrating this.
They're both. It's symbiotic.
Right.
Yeah, it's symbiotic. They're both getting a big bang for it, and this is the start of his rehabilitation. That's how it works in America. He's got to do this. But it does open him up. I think what's interesting, if there is a confession, it opens him up to all kinds of legal trouble, trouble.
Like, give him all that money back.
He's being sued left and right, and I would imagine that he's open to charges of perjury because he gave evidence, did he not, on numerous occasions that turns out to be false. But I guess some of this is about saving the charity that he started, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, of course it is. I'm just a good guy that wants to save my charity. I mean, if you don't think that you're watching a very carefully orchestrated, there is nothing that you are hearing that isn't out there for a reason.
Correct. Unless she is, and she is known as a good interviewer. She might have gotten things from him that he didn't intend to say, but it sounds like she didn't. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know that I'm going to watch it.
I'm probably not.
Yeah, I might have to just because of my job. It's work-related.
Right, that's true.
Okay, oh, God, as if we haven't suffered enough. There's a third George Bush entering politics. The next generation.
P.
Huh? George P. Oh, that's unfortunate because, his grandfather was H.W. and then P. W, and then we're just going to call him P. Because we call W. And I'm glad that H.W.'s out of he had a siege there in 2 months in the hospital.
Yeah, I'm glad he's going home.
I am too. But George P. Now, George P. was first brought to our attention when he was a little boy because that's the one that his grandfather, when he was making a speech where he was nominated for president, talked about his family, and he said something about the little brown one.
Oh, that's the little brown one.
Well, of course, the little brown one has grown up. He's 36 years old, and something like a real estate private equity firm he operates. And the little brown one is an articulate, it's Jeb's son, because Jeb's married to a Colombian. I believe she's originally from Colombia, Consuelo. And yes, thus he sired a pigmented child, the little brown one. And the little brown one now is well positioned to become the Republican, to be a Republican of the future because he's got
the pedigree and he's got a diversity angle.
He's got melatonin. He speaks fluent Spanish. And he's got the name George Bush. So, he's not sure what he's running for. He either wants to be the some statewide office in Texas. But he's already raised, it says here, $1.3 million. It took him less than 2 months. And it said that he got contributions from his father, from his uncle, from his grandfather, and his other uncles and cousins and longtime family financial friends. And they're saying it shows how, he's built this huge network. It's all just, the Bush people.
Of course it is.
Well, gave him
It's the family business. He's got all the family contacts. It's like all these kids that go into theater. The ones that make it, their parents are already there and in the business. I mean, how do you pick? You pick. Of course, duh.
Oh, Susan, check out the Wall Street Journal today.
Yes, I did. Which part?
It's in that section we don't read that often because it's the financial kind of section. But I think it's the second section.
Money and investing?
No, it's about...
Or marketplace.
It's a little studio... Marketplace, probably. It's about a little studio. A studio in Hollywood run by a woman named Pritzker.
Oh.
That's... Yeah, and it's Jay Pritzker's daughter. And apparently she's doing some... This was our dad's roommate in college, Jay Pritzker. And his daughter's doing all that stuff. And, she's got...
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that Pritzker's in the news for something good instead of suing each other over his money.
Right. And it's her cousin who was one of Obama's major fundraising people.
Right, but
Penny.
Sort of stayed out of it the second time around.
Right. Penny Pritzker. But this is Jay's daughter, and whatever. So, and this just in, there is a move afoot to change the values of the letters in Scrabble.
Oh, no.
Yes! And I think this is tampering with something.
I do, too. It changes everything.
For 75 years, we all know what letters are worth, right? But apparently, it is thought now that Z is really overrated and shouldn't be worth 10. And Q should be worth 10, I would think. But they want to devalue. See, the thing is anybody who plays Scrabble knows that everybody now has found out that you can get rid of Q's and Z's. You can put a Q in front of an I. That's a word. What it is, I don't know. QI?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
See, I don't play Words with Friends. That's how you know these things.
That's right. And then there's XI, isn't there? There's XI. There's
right, well, that I do, right.
QI. What else is there? Jess knows them all because we play Words with Friends, huh? QAT. Well, that I know. Cot. That stuff they chew in the Middle East. And, but they're saying that because people know all this, among the notable additions are all those short words that people now know using Z, Qs, and Xs. And so Qs and Zs are much easier to play now. And anyway, somebody's come up with a whole new system which elevates some letters and downgrades other. But the reality is, ain't going to happen.
No.
Because people know what their numbers are, their letters are worth. Don't we? Pretty much.
No, and I mean, the fact that you now know words, I mean, that's, so you're a better player.
Yeah, but did I ever bother looking up QI?
No.
Hey, Jess, look it up. Okay. You're the one who told me about it. What? I have no idea what that means or how to pronounce it. How would you pronounce that? Z? XI is pronounced. Huh?
Oh, well, you mean XI?
No, QI. How would you pronounce that?
QI, key.
Huh? Key. It's pronounced key, and it means?
The circulating life force.
The circulating life force. Whose existence. What? And properties.
Are the basis of much Chinese.
Are the basis of much Chinese philosophy. Key. Must be, then it's a Buddhist thing, maybe. No? QI.
All right, so we learned a word today.
Yes. I don't know if I could use it in a sentence, though.
Should learn more than one. It's rather niggardly of us.
Niggardly, meaning stingy. And in no way having anything to do with race. But, ever since then, people are absolutely afraid to use that word.
No, I use it on purpose ever since then.
But you would be a little uptight about accusing an African-American person of being niggardly. Wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
Yeah!
But, I don't accuse most people.
Here, our brother is niggardly.
Yeah, he is.
And he's not here to defend himself. But he is. Or you could say he's careful in the management of his finances.
No, that would be totally inappropriate. He is not careful.
Okay. Well, geez, you're right. I understand what you're saying. All right. Well, I was going to get into this whole subject of new kinds of burial, where you just lay your body on the top of a mountain and let ravens.
Oh, did you read that? Ugh.
Let ravens eat you.
You still have to figure out a way to dispose of the bones. You can't.
Yeah,
it's just illegal.
I sort of I don't like the idea of being picked apart by carnivores, but I like the idea of these green funerals that are coming up, where, because tell me how much sense okay, we got a caller. Hello.
Hey guys, it's PJ from Greensburg. I got a quick question for you. I don't know, Lynn. Do you remember Dr. Scott Galloway?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I listened to his show on Sundays, and while you guys were speaking of your brother, and it's what made me think of it. One of the callers to his show brought up. They thought it was your brother's book. It was called The Anatomy of a Skunk.
No. My brother's book is The Anatomy of Disgust.
See? I actually called Dr. Galloway and told him I would call you and find out about it, because it didn't make sense to me either. I was like, what?
The Anatomy of Disgust. Disgust. Which I think is...
But, it actually makes sense, because a skunk does release an odor that creates disgust.
But is there any relationship between the two? What is the book literally about the anatomy of disgust, or is it?
No, it's about disgust. It's about the human emotion of disgust, what disgusts us, why it disgusts us, and it's just fun to read the. Just turn to the back and read the index. Because it's like.
And it's very. Parts of it are totally disgusting. And there's great stories in there.
There's great stories.
It's about disgusting things.
Well, I will give Dr. Galloway the scoop.
Okay. Thank you.
Throughout the ages. Disgusting things throughout the ages. That's the important part. Mostly old, disgusting things.
Yeah, like a lot of you look at what made some of these Catholic saints. It was people who would suck pus out of.
Right, it's a lot of discussion of pus and bodily.
Yeah. Oh, here, let me suck the pus out of your wound so I can be a saint. But and this is a subject for another day because we're out of time. But I do think this guy, it is so true. the way we handle death and disposal of bodies is absurd. It's insane. And in a time when you're talking about, light bulbs and green and this and that, I mean, look at what we do to a dead person. We pump them full of toxic chemicals.
So they can't rot.
They can't rot. We stick them in a box, seal the box in a steel or something, tightly container, and then we stick them in precious land. Where they're going to what? Lie there with that? When nature, according to nature, dust to dust and ashes to ashes means you stick them in the ground and they become part of nature again. That makes so much more sense.
Well, but that's how Jews are basically
I know that's
buried.
what the Jewish form of burial has not gotten screwed up like this, but in general, that's the way people are now buried, filled with toxic chemicals, stuck in airtight sealed things, and stuck in the ground so that they can lie there like, they still decompose. But they don't. We're supposed to go back in. Who we kidding?
We're supposed to feed the world. Our last act of generosity should be to,
Well, yeah, you're supposed to be part of the circle of life, and
You repay what you used by becoming part of that cycle.
Right, and we're not doing our share. We're opting out of the circle of life and pretending that somehow we're not part of it. Well, I got news for us. So anyway, there's a growing movement of green burial, which amounts to essentially wrapping someone in a shroud, sticking them in the ground,
right.
like I did to Smudge Lemieux.
Right.
Okay. Smudge Lemieux has.
So we come
full circle.
With Smudge, we end with Smudge.
Yeah. All right, Suze.
Okay, bye.
Thank you very much. Talk at you next week. Bye. And tomorrow, Mr. Pata makes his usual Wednesday appearance. And you guys have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.